too much. Oh,
Sorry, I
wow.
just switched on the recording so that I have a copy of this later. My bad.
Yeah, cool. Are we going to be live or,
No, we're not live.
okay, right.
I just kind of wanted to meet you face to face, have a conversation, see what came of it, and we'll lift the good
Yeah.
stuff from it. But I wanted to show you also a couple of my acquisitions. These are the pieces
Oh,
that I was telling you
oh,
about,
yeah.
and this one,
Wow.
I got to tell you a
There
story
he
about
is,
this one. But if you can see the very back, that's the
Oh,
camp's autograph.
nice. Wow.
So yeah,
I
these go ahead.
actually have warm fuzzies for this camp, even though I know he kind of vandalized Howard's legacy. But at the same time, it's kind of like what oh shoot, I'm blanking his name. The guy that posthumously collaborated with Lovecraft for years and years, and
Derleth.
because yes, Derleth, August Derleth. I mean, and even the Del Rey guys that everybody is talking about how awful they were to certain writers, and but
There
we
is
got the world we got because they were there in it being evil. I kind of feel like they're Disney villains, like
I
that.
I absolutely no. Please continue with that thought. The Disney villains resonates nicely. I like that.
That's I mean, really, who doesn't love Cruella Deville? Because she's so bad. Or oh, what's his name from Beauty and the Beast?
Gaston.
Gaston,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, Gaston. Maybe. Uh, yeah, I mean, they're just so kind of almost just over the top, and but that probably has something to do with the fact that I didn't start playing in this sandbox until after they had given up on trying to, you know, piratically defend the space that they had carved out of it illegally.
Yeah. Where the camp is concerned, and I kind of want your opinion on this. But you hands down without any reservations whatsoever. The reason we have Conan in the public consciousness today is probably the camp. And
Yeah,
it's a hate to love, love to hate thing. It's both sides of the coin because um he really did appropriate that legacy and make every effort to turn it into himself. And I want to tell you a story about that, but I want to ask you this question, and that is I perceive myself as a Howard enthusiast, and as a Howard enthusiast, I don't enjoy the camp, and he kind of does get to wear that black hat. Are there
yeah.
Conan enthusiasts out there who will just absolutely eat up the decamp material, who are happy to have it? Or is he now the guy in the black hat across the spectrum?
I don't know. All I know is that when I was in high school, I just wolfed down all of those Ace paperback versions, and they
Mhm.
were just loaded with. I actually circled back around to a couple of the stories that I remembered from when I was in high school. Like one of them, there was like a giant slug that Conan had to defeat somehow. That somehow it managed to solve, the basic gastropod locomotion dilemma, which is, under under 1 mile an hour, so that it could chase him around. And then there was another one where a skeleton had a sword, and supposedly Conan stole it from him. I think that one was by Lynn Carter, but I wasn't as picky when I was in a sophomore in high school as I am today,
Mm,
and I did get a good deal of enjoyment out of all of those stories. I think it's just the halo effect.
I
The Howard stuff was so good and so masterful that some of the less deft story to oh no, I've got I just realized I just caught a glimpse of myself in the monitor here, and I realized that I've got drywall paste on my shirt.
No worries, no one will ever see this video. I'm going
Yeah,
to lift
right
the
on.
audio from it.
Oh,
Um,
it's all good.
but I actually have one of the stories that DeCamp and um, Lynn Carter wrote together. It's called Curse of the Monolith on this
Oh,
album.
I vaguely remember that one.
And
Now, I think my mother had a connection with Lynn Carter somehow when she was in college. Not a hookup type connection. I don't mean that, but I mean like that she knew him or something like that. Because at one point she told me that she knew a published writer and it was Lynn Carter, and that was before I knew who Lynn Carter was. So I was like, "Oh wow, that's cool, Mom." And I went out and got one of his books, and it was something like The Civilization at the End of Forever or something like that. I can't remember the name of the book, but it was just horrible. It was really bad.
it's funny you mention it's funny we Lynn Carter comes up because we're talking about DeCamp, and I got to tell you a story a little later about DeCamp that someone else just told me. But Lynn Carter, I was probably 13, 14, and I stumbled across all of Lynn Carter's Green Star books.
Oh,
And of
I don't
course,
think I've read them.
the Green Star books are John Carter. He's
Oh,
just
yeah.
he's just changed all the names is all he's done.
So he did that several times because there was another book that I came across, which was it was about somebody named Jonathan Andrew Dark who had been Jandar of Callisto, I think it was, and it
Okay.
was literally a princess of Mars on a different planet with a different guy who was like a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. This was before things went sour in Vietnam. I think he wrote this in like 64 or 65, something like that. Anyway, yeah, I was just always kind of like, gee, Mom, don't you know any good writers?
Oh, I have to stop for a second and
that,
do
that
this.
isn't
Just
really fair.
I have to stop for a second and do this just so we can cut it out and put it in the front. My guest this evening is Finn J.D. John, proprietor of Pulp Lit Productions. We own actually several of his works, including his John Carter stories, his H.P. Lovecraft Complete Weird Tales, and his Conan Weird Tales Omnibus, which we recommend all of our listeners get a hold of at some point. His audiobooks are, in fact, fantastic and available right this minute. Um, you are working on another project, and it's really exciting to me as somebody who spends a lot of time in the public domain. Would you tell me about that?
Well, yeah, it's a podcast that I launched early this year, basically to trick myself into getting my butt back into the recording booth and doing more work because, I mean, that's really kind of, I mean, I got into publishing these collections as a way to as a way to do audiobook narration. And so that's kind of like where it's at for me. So it's called the Penny Dreadful Hour podcast, and it started out being the Penny Dreadful Story Hour podcast. And basically, it started out as a speed run through Sweeney Todd, the barber of Fleet Street. Just read 3 chapters, riff a little bit about what happens, close it out. Kept up like that for about 5 months. And then I thought to myself, well, it's going to take me a long time to get through Sweeney Todd. The name of the show is the Penny Dreadful Hour, and this is only one Penny Dreadful. We need more Penny Dreadfuls. So I started adding some more Penny Dreadfuls in there. And I got at one point, I had like 7 of them that I was working through. But I dropped Spring Heeled Jack because I needed 7 was too many. And and I've got it down now to where it's basically an early Victorian variety show. Which, if I was smart, I would have started this off with pre-war pulp. I would have had a bigger audience and more interested viewers, I think, than the old Victorian penny dreadful. And this is we're talking street literature, right? This is the stuff that street urchins and bakers' boys and costermongers' daughters and such would have been reading and having read to them on the streets of London in 1845 or whatever. So it's really been a fascinating journey because I didn't know as much about the early Victorian and particularly, urban early Victorian working class kind of stuff. When I started this out, I just loved the stories. But of course, I had to do research and I had to figure out what this meant. And they had this whole vocabulary of flash cant, they called it, which was basically highway robber slang that they originally started using so that the cops wouldn't know what they were talking about when they, were talking about, robbing places and stuff like that. But it kind of went mainstream and it became a thing that regular Londoners liked to sort of patter this slang to sound cool. Which, I guess there's nothing new under the sun, right? We've got that today. It's just different slang.
Yes, but the slang then was much cooler. And I
Well,
actually
I
stand
think
a
it
chance
was.
of understanding some of it.
The coolest slang though was the stuff that came up when, because once the fancy toffs and the swells and stuff started pattering your slang, if you were a street urchin or a pickpocket or a member of one of the gypsy families, you needed to come up with something else that would make it so that what you were saying was unintelligible to the flats. And so they came up with rhyming slang, which I am just fascinated by, but it's like a whole nother language. They'll say something like, if somebody's like doing a rhyming slang request for what time it is. I'll say something like, "What's a lemon?" And like you're like, "What?" But lemons go with limes. Lime rhymes with time, so that's the idea. What's a lemon? What's the lemon in lime? What's the time? That's rhyming slang.
Mm.
and, uh, and there's a whole bunch of these. Pop Goes the Weasel, the song Pop Goes the Weasel, the like nursery rhyme. It's a reference to an overcoat because weasels go with stoats and stoat rhymes with coat. So Pop Goes the Weasel, blokes. Uh,
The one that I'm familiar with
yeah.
is the butcher, the have a butcher's, the butcher's hook. Look, and I think I
Oh,
remember that from an
yeah.
Agatha Christie play, if I remember right. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
probably. Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Anyway, language is cool. And yeah, for a little while, I was calling myself Professor Flash on these podcasts because people I wanted to put them on YouTube, and I wanted to I set up this whole display deck back here, specifically as a backdrop for a YouTube thing, which I never did because I'm just really bad at video. But yeah,
Oh, I
it's been
absolutely love your set. I'm entirely distracted by your theremin, if I'm honest. Uh,
oh yeah, oh my gosh. I was like, it's harder than it looks though. I figured I could spend a day or two and be playing the Star Trek intro, but
yep.
not happening.
No,
Not
it's
happening. It's very
definitely more
hard.
work than that. You can get like the first three bars of the Star Trek theme down really good, but once you really start moving up and down the scale, I've been this road. I've been
Ah,
this road.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
I think that one somehow ended up as a stupid deal of the day on Musician's Friend on a week when I had more money than usual, and I was like, "Oh, I want one of those!"
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, anyway.
They're a lot of fun to have, but if you don't own headphones, you become very unpopular very quickly.
Oh boy, yes. Yeah, and there's a reason why there's a little a foot cutoff switch that you can stomp on the switch and make it stop screaming.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so are you still doing? I'm ashamed to admit I have been really tied up with terrestrial work lately. Are
Well,
you
you just
still doing Barney
relaunched
the
your
Vampire?
radio station. Oh
Yes, I
yes. Oh
did.
gosh, yes. Yeah, so you've been a busy guy. And Varney the Vampire is very much still in play. It's one of our dreadfuls that we cycle through.
We're
So
hoping to
the way
send you a
it's
lot of folks at the Halloween season just for
oh
Varney.
boy. Yeah, there's some other stuff too. Actually, so the way that I'm setting this up, and I'm hoping that I can sustain this because it's pretty ambitious in terms of time. And when I'm just about to go back to teaching, today is literally the first day of my contract. So I'm gonna have to go to the barber shop and get myself cleaned up a little bit. I've gotten very scraggly looking over the summer, but we have there's the Sunday show is an hour long, and it includes a let's see. So the lineup is Mysteries of London, which was in the 19th century. It was the most popular um, piece of fiction read in England. So I had to include it. And then we've got Varney the Vampire and Sweeney Todd the Barber of Fleet Street. And then Black Bess or the Knight of the Road, which is the Dick Turpin Highwayman story, which that one's been a lot of fun. And The Black Band, which is like an international spy thriller. And the last one is my favorite one right now. It's called Rose Mortimer or The Ballet Girl's Revenge. And it is ripe stuff. But anyway, so it just basically I do one of those in each show, and there's 3 shows a week. And then I kind of interspersed it, intersperse
Yeah.
it with with some other, kind of cool stuff. There's an old sort of a true crime periodical published in 1825 called The Terrific Register. I've been pulling articles from that about, horrible stuff. I moved all of the blood and guts into Thursdays and all of the not safe for work stuff, of which there was some, mostly supper club songs and like books of dirty jokes, onto Tuesdays. I'm calling it Torrid Tuesday, or Twopenny Torrid Tuesday, and Halfpenny Horror Thursday, which I'm just having a lot of fun being dorky about this. I was not able to continue to look myself in the mirror and call myself Professor Flash, though. That went by the boards.
Uh,
But
when we started, we all had fancy nicknames, and you will still occasionally in pre-recorded material hear them 15 years on, but we don't
uh,
use them anymore.
yeah, I am thinking of though about starting to call myself Corinthian Finn, um,
Ooh,
because on Discord I identify myself as the 18th Baron Dunwich, which is, Lord Dunsany was the 18th Baron Dunsany, and of course Dunwich is Dunwich,
right.
and I live in a region that very much resembles what I imagine Dunwich must be like. So yeah. Plus,
I'm
I'm American, so I don't have to worry about appropriating courtesy titles from other countries.
precisely. I just purchased a made up title from Transylvania and am
Oh,
now
really?
John Count of Hamrick and Keeper of the Phantom Star. But
Oh, hell yeah.
did all of that just to call myself Count Hamula.
Count is honestly a way more cool title than Baron. It's like the best one.
Well, they're all good. I mean, now here's the kick. With the current political situation, my title, which comes with a certificate and a square foot of land in Romania,
Oh, that's
can't be
that
can't be
that's
sent
that
to me.
Romanian outfit.
Yeah,
Oh no.
they can't send it to me because tariffs.
Yeah.
So we won't get terribly political, but at this point, my title is being held up by tariffs. So.
Uh, yeah, I was wondering what those Romanian folks were doing. That they were sending stuff to the U.S. and they had a business going on. It sounded pretty cool, but they weren't very specific about what the business was.
Well,
Just that the tariffs were hitting them really hard. But that's
it's
really fun. It's kind of like established titles, only fun.
Yeah, yeah. Now you can still buy titles from places that don't really exist anymore, like Friesland. You can still buy a
Mhm.
baronet if you want to. I don't know exactly why you would, but I mean, but these
Anything for
folks
a
seem.
story.
What's that?
Anything for a good story.
For a good story, exactly. Um, oh, I told you I had a story for you. I have
Oh,
been I've been talking with the fellow who did these albums. They're technically Moondance Comics was a big deal back in the day, um,
yeah.
on the East Coast, and the owner and proprietor was a man named Alan Goldstein, and Alan reached into publishing and published a handful of records, which are sought after now. Particularly the first one, the one with the Howard stories, is very well loved. Um, Now, you got to understand, listeners, I'm slightly autistic and can't go to sleep at night without a distraction. I go to sleep at night listening to Martin Shaw reading the Silmarillion or Finn John reading either The Phoenix on the Sword, The Tower of the Elephant, um, Rogues in the House, or The Case of Charles Dexter Ward every single night. It's the only
Wow.
way I can get my sleep in. This version of The Tower of the Elephant is not my favorite version, but it is very well produced and considerably better produced than any of the old Marvel and Power records of the day. It's fantastic. It has the Frost Giant's Daughter and Tower of the Elephant on it, both of which I believe we have played courtesy of Finn on the station. The other one, the Decamp album. The Decamp album has The Bloodstained God and The Curse of the Monolith on it, and it's not good.
Mhm.
It's Alan explained to me that he went to DeCamp's house, set up a microphone in DeCamp's bedroom, and went to DeCamp's wife's bedroom to run the recording equipment and recorded this in one session, no cuts, just straight off with DeCamp doing the narration and all of the voices. And then they came back behind it later and took this recording that was done on a reel to reel full of air from inside of DeCamp's house and filled it with sound effects to cover up some of the air sound.
Huh.
And he's not as proud of it as the first album, obviously. But anyway,
Well, the camp could be kind of tetchy from what I understand. So maybe that was the best he could do.
I believe at the time he was also entirely Conan Properties.
Mm.
I believe Conan Properties was El Sprague de Camp. I think he slowly kind of bought rights up left and right until
What he
uh,
could, actually. I actually know something about this because I got a cease and desist from those guys. I had to lawyer up and everything. It was very inconvenient in a variety of ways, but it was also very educational.
this is one of the things I really wanted to get down to bare bones because you and I both do so much with works in the public domain. And a performance might not be in the public domain, but the source material is. And frequently you can find yourself in hot water that's not really justifiable because you record something that someone else has recorded.
Or were well, not necessarily worse, but definitely bad is what almost happened to me when I tried to do some do a collection of. Well, I did. I didn't just try. I actually did a collection of the early Hercule Poirot stuff from Agatha Christie, which is in the public domain in the United States, but not in anywhere
Okay.
else,
Yeah.
basically. But what's in the public domain is the stuff that was published in magazines in 1924. If you grab a copy of the man who was number four or whatever off the shelf from your local library and read it, you're actually infringing copyright, and they're very aggressive. Those people are. So it can be kind of a hazard because if the original author went back through there and updated it, the original stuff's in the public domain, but the updated version is not, and it can be a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah. It's I actually had to explain to this gentleman that basically, as I understand it, all of Howard's Conan is pretty much in the public domain. There really aren't any big exceptions there. The character is in the public domain. But he was under the impression that this album was already out of copyright, and I had
Mhm.
the wonderful experience of expressing to him that no, the performance still belonged to him. It was still all his and his to control, and to coach him on how to get it off of archive.org where people were getting his property for free.
Oh, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Um, but the thing about it is, and I'm checking my notes from my conversation with him. I'm speaking with Alan again on the record tomorrow. Um, but when they began making the Conan movie, they actually got, I have to be careful how I say this. I don't want anybody's reputation actually, impugned by speculation. But what he expressed to me was that DeCamp and De Laurentiis got together and pushed him very, very hard to return these rights because they didn't want.
Well, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't. I mean, here's the thing. Like Derleth, the Conan Properties Incorporated's title to those rights isn't necessarily rock solid. And from what I understand, it primarily stems from a purchase of all of the rights from Weird Tales, which of course is, the first North American serial rights, but not really anything else beyond that. And then some other rights that they've picked up along the way, but everything is pretty much considered to be in the public domain now, and they're very picky and choosy about who they're crossing swords with in trying to assert ownership of the property. They would never have bothered me. Just tiny little boutique publishing house, maybe sells, maybe, if I'm lucky, 20 or 30 books a year, because it's a little bit niche, right? Or niche. But
That's kind of, yeah. Yeah, believe me.
but then when the Easton Press people reached out to me and were like, "Hey, let's make a deal. Send us your thing, and we're going to put out a leather bound special deluxe $500 version." I'm like, "Okay, that sounds cool." They gave me a little bit of money for the rights. I sent them to them, and that's when the lawyers got involved and the Conan Properties people started making a fuss because Easton Press is big business. They've they could make a dent. So anyway, yeah, after Easton Press basically withdrew it from production, they just dropped it. I haven't heard anything from them.
Mm.
But the thing is, they don't want it to go to court because it could go against them, and then they wouldn't have anything.
Yeah, I have a friend who's the proprietor of what is it, Dark Force Media. They do a series of books very similar to what you do and what I do, where they reach into the public domain for material. One of the things they do is a regularly published comic called Lovecraft PI. It basically speculates
Ah,
what if H.P. Lovecraft had gone to World War One, seen some very, very strange things there, and come back with the idea that he's going to be sort of a paranormal detective. And they published that. They also published something called Zadar the Savage, which was initially going to be a Tarzan book.
oh,
But even though Burroughs' Tarzan, as I understand it, is in the public domain, the Burroughs estate still clamors for rights all the time and
yeah, they
basically
really.
threatens to sue to the point where it's not cost effective to use the property.
Right. Yeah, they lean really hard on the trademark thing because they've got all these trademarks that they've registered. And you can have a trademark forever as long as you continue using it. That's why nobody can publish a Conan book that has Conan in that distinctive font that they use, with the kind of the slashy font,
Right.
because that's trademarked. And there's no question about that. If you put that on there, you could get in some trouble. I know the Burroughs people lean on that a lot too. I've never heard from them, but I've wanted to reach out to them for a couple of years now. I've been doing a class in my day job at University of Oregon where the cohort of students basically builds out a transmedia world around At the Earth's Core. We have, you know, come out with like comics and fan art and stuff like that, and video productions and things like that. It's kind of a capstone type class. They just create in they form up teams and just create cool stuff around At the Earth's Core, which we've kind of updated a little bit so that it's a little less, well, how do I put this? At the Earth's Core is a remarkably sexist and kind of icky book in other ways too. It's really a product of its time. I mean, the main purpose of the main goal of the main character who we're supposed to be rooting for is he wants to eradicate a race of sentient dinosaurs. So it's like, yay, genocide, woo woo, go team humans. Anyway, so we we update it. I made up a an evil boss named Al Bankshot, who's kind of like a combination of Christian Grey from the that what is that one that was so I hate it when I blank titles of things that I know really well. 50 Shades of Grey. That
Okay.
Christian Grey, Captain of Industry guy with his name on all the stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of like a mashup of him and you know Lucky Luciano. Anyway, I'm not being very coherent for some reason.
Oh, that's
My,
all
my
right.
brain is
I'm
skipping every
following you.
third
I'm
word
also
that I'm
trying
trying
to
to
do.
use.
We're absolutely following you. Please go on.
I'm just stammering along here. Oh, there's another word that I know and I forgot what it was. Oof. Anyway, so yeah, this is I would love to reach out to the Burroughs people and be like, hey, our class is doing this thing with this piece of IP that is in the public domain and you guys haven't really done anything with. So you know, why don't you help us with it? And I think they might go for it because
They, it,
classroom.
it's possible, but the problem is, the, again, I'm talking out of school here, but the way Dave expressed it to me was they were absolutely all for it until they figured they didn't need him. They could release it on their own
Right.
and
Yeah,
thereby
I
extend their properties and holdings.
they
And
also are a little bit they have a reputation for being kind of a bear that one pokes at one's peril. If they decide that they don't want to cooperate, they I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to get the whole thing shut down, fair use or no fair use.
well, they were very interested in their brand and their trademark and how they could market it. And Tarzan to and I can't fathom this. Tarzan to the Burroughs estate in and of itself is not marketable anymore, not nearly as marketable as say a book about a young Jane Porter, which they ultimately ended up working on. And more power to them. That's a great idea. I love it, but it springs from a place, and that's kind of what we're all about at the Phantom Star is where
Yeah.
do a lot of these things that you consider to be tropes today come from? And are you aware that everything that is recorded as spoken word, recorded up until 1971, is in the public domain? You don't hear about it because anybody can go and get it for free. So what ends up happening is it ends up being buried, lost, forgotten. Um, there's
Hmm.
um, there's an entire Doctor Strange series from 1969, I think it is, out there. There's a whole season of Fantastic Four radio shows. There's all of
So this would be because they don't renew the copyright, right?
no, actually, this is a part of the whole campaign to extend copyrights in the
Hmm.
case of properties like Disney properties. What ended up happening was everything that was spoken word before 71 didn't fit into any of the categories and simply slipped into into the public domain. So you can go and get old episodes of Dimension X and X minus one, and they are yours, mine, anybody's.
I'm glad they're still being curated. If stuff goes too soon into the public domain, suddenly there's no profit motive for anybody to keep it during the 20 or 30 years when it's old and boring before it becomes classic again.
Well, I mean, how can you not preserve? How can you not keep and tell people about? Oh, I don't know, Heinlein's The Green Hills of Earth,
Yeah.
which is one of the best radio plays I think that was ever produced. Or oh gosh, I can't remember the author, but Fritz Leiber, A Pail of
Oh,
Air. That's a fantastic story. And all of
I'm not
this is.
familiar with that one. I'm very familiar with Fritz Leiber,
Oh
though.
yeah, that's one of the things that I bought in Weird Providence, which used to be the
Oh,
Lovecraft Association. When I purchased this, I
uh-huh.
also purchased this.
Wow. Yeah, that takes me back. Although mine were much smaller and crappier paper.
The old DC
Yes.
editions. I had those. Yeah.
Hmm.
For listeners who weren't listening to this, in the event that this bit of the conversation makes it to the air, I just held up the Fafford and the Grey Mouser Omnibus to show Finn. Yeah, the folks at Weird Providence were fantastic, by the way. If you haven't been lately, when you go back to Providence next, you should see them. They're having a ball, and their shop is second to none for just good old fashioned pulp.
I need to make a pilgrimage soon.
Well, we were thinking one of these days we would go to Texas
Yeah.
and visit Cross Plains, and we would work out some sort of letter exchange. Go to Lovecraft's grave, go to Howard's grave, and leave something at both. Leave a letter from each at the other grave, or something like that. And if we
Yeah.
ever do that, and you want in on it, or you want to carry a letter to us to some extent, I'll give you a yell, but first I have to have a
Yeah.
reason to go to Texas.
Right. Yeah, I've always wanted to I've always wanted to go down there and see that house that he lived in when he was writing all that stuff. And at one point, Patrice Luanez was there in town, and I was like, man, I wish I could go and I could meet Patrice. And yeah, anyway.
It's I have a I you wrote a story, a novella, I believe it is, where you incorporated the Phantom Star into the
Oh
story.
yes,
We were
yes.
actually toying with the idea of I've got the preliminary work on it. This is how I got in bed with Dark Force Media. We were gonna maybe write this together, but I liked the idea of Howard as a Texas Ranger, as Two Gun Bob, and maybe a secret Texas Ranger for that period when the Rangers weren't around. They were supposed to not exist. Bonnie and Clyde era, and we
Who
were going
were
to call
those
the
masked men?
yeah. Well, he's got two guns, right?
Yeah.
He's Two Gun Bob, and the bullet has the bad guy's name on it. And when he
Uh,
fires the bullet, it doesn't matter where the guy whose name is on the bullet is standing. The bullet always hits the mark. And we were going to call the first story "The Phoenix on the Star," and we were going to incorporate it into his badge, and we were basically going to absolutely allegory the heck out of Phoenix on the sword.
yeah. So this is my friend Sam Blanchard's version of the Phantom Star,
Oh,
the airship that is the Martian airship in this novella, and it started out, this novella did, as basically a fan fiction project riffing off of oh, I'm blanking the name again. I do this all the time, as you will have noticed, but it's the Lovecraft story in which people's brains are removed and placed in shiny metal cylinders and
Whisper in
hooked up to
Darkness.
Whisper in Darkness. Yes, that's the one. It was kind of thinking, now wait a minute, what if the Migo are the good guys and they actually are, the up? It's an actual upgrade. You get your brain put in one of those metal boxes. It connects via, some kind of like etherionic connection to cultured bodies, and you basically become immortal. Your brain in a case on Yugoth, and your body going wherever you want it to go. And, if it gets killed, you just grow a new one. So that's kind of that's kind of what I went with from this. And I had a blast writing it. It was just, it's just a little like 17,000 word confection, just a short novella. Starts off with a Transylvanian professor from after the apocalypse, and in this world that I cooked up, The apocalypse happened and destroyed all the records and mixed up other records. So pulp stuff is getting mixed in with actual history. And so like these people worship, there's a church and they worship a god named Oz, the great and the powerful. And there's a there's obsolete magic using devices that are like electric stoves and things like that that don't work anymore, and everyone thinks they're cursed. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I had a great time writing it. I'm gonna have to like go back to it sometime and try and doll it up and get it out there.
You have sent me a copy of it, and I
Did
can't,
I? Oh, awesome.
well, you sent me an electronic copy, and I can't find it, but I'm trying to dig it out of my emails now. Oh, um,
Yeah.
so we have basically these two albums I've been going on and on about all night. Their 50th anniversary is this month, September of 1975. So what we're going to do is we're going to put together a show on the 26th that will incorporate some of the information you and I have exchanged this evening. An
Right
interview
on.
with Alan and the stories that are on the first album, the two actual Howard stories. We're going to do another Howard series or another Howard show in January for Howard's birthday. And we're going to run those again. I don't know what I'm going to do with the camp stories because, and this is probably off the record, quite honestly, they're really not very good. And I will send you one of the files to listen to for yourself, and you'll be laughing hilariously within the first 2 minutes. It's just, oh, he really was trying. And I bet that part of the deal to secure these rights to make these albums was he had to put DeCamp in something.
I'll bet so. Yeah, I mean, I just reading some of the introductions to the DeCamp collections. It really, he's almost apologizing for stooping to something so low brow as, Robert E. Howard stories and Conan stuff. He's like, but they're fun. And it's just like, this is a guy who doesn't understand the appeal. And he's giving the peasants what he thinks peasants want and like. And we don't.
Howard's turn of phrase is second to none.
The guy
Absolutely second to
had instincts. The guy just had he could evoke a whole scene in like a flash of phrase. There's a scene that he built in the one that he stretched out into a novel.
none. Oh, yes. Hour of the Dragon? No,
Or
Time of the Dragon.
no,
What is it's
I
the
think it
Conan. I
is.
know the novel well. I can never remember the title of it. It's always just the Conan novel.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure it is Hour of the Dragon actually, but there's a point at which how Conan becomes aware of the silver gorilla or whatever it was that was in that prison basement place that he was getting out of, and it's just astonishing how he just evokes the spectral dread of something, and it's something big, and it's showtime. Anybody else would have wasted a couple of paragraphs describing it all and taking us there. And he's just like, but that's not how you experience life. You experience life in these intuitive flashes. And somehow this Texas kid was able to make the English language do intuitive flashes like real life.
no,
And I can't
absolutely.
do it. Nobody
And,
I know can do it.
and he gave
Howard
me
can do it.
that second King Conan story. Not Phoenix on the Sword. What is the second one called? Um, the one where he's in the one where he's
God in the bowl?
imprisoned. What's that?
It's not the God in the bowl, is it?
No, no. You didn't do The God in the Bowl, and to your
No,
credit,
I
because
didn't.
it
It
has
was,
too much of another author mixed into it.
yeah.
But oh gosh. Yep, and I could look at it too.
Probably was. It probably was in the we got Phoenix. Love how these things jump around. Oh man, Rogues in the House was so brilliant.
Rogues in the House is fantastic, and your version of it is one that I just love.
Well, it's easy to do a good job on stuff when you're really into it. Um, one that I, for some reason, have never really clicked with is Queen of the Black Coast. People love that story so much.
I
And it,
love a scene in that story. The scene where he's knee deep in dead hyenas.
yes,
I love that scene.
yeah,
That is what every action scene in every fantasy movie should look like.
yeah.
I don't love the story in and of itself, but that scene is wonderful.
It
We
feels
are,
unreal to me. I like the intro scene though, actually, where he, like jumps onto the ship after having like brained the judge that was sentencing him to jail and run off that. I mean, that was kind of cool. But then the rest of the thing is, it feels like really, it feels like a dream story. Like maybe it's something where he and Lovecraft were talking, and Lovecraft was saying, "I have these dreams, and I just turn them into stories, and they work really well." And Howard was like, "Well, maybe I'll try that." And
it's funny you say that way because Lovecraft is what I'm reaching for. And the story we're looking for is the Scarlet Citadel.
oh yes,
When he's in
oh
the dungeons in the Scarlet Citadel, and I believe that as a person who finds Howard first and Lovecraft after, um, I believe my first ever experience with a Shoggoth or something Shoggoth like occurred in that dungeon.
yeah.
And he really gave me the impression, better in fact than the strange gelatinous amorphous thing that was crying, that was weeping like a woman, and then chased him through the darkness in the dungeon. That was terrifying to me, and it was terrifying to me because more than anything Lovecraft ever wrote, I knew he was being pursued by a Shoggoth.
Mm. Yeah, I didn't know what a Shoggoth was the first time I encountered that story, and it was really, yeah, it was powerful.
Yeah.
Huh, yeah.
So it's where's it going with that? I lose my train sometimes, and I
Oh, me
apologize.
too.
But
My favorite,
he's
my favorite thing to do.
the phrase that always gets me is from Power of the Elephant, and it's almost the very beginning of the story. It may, in fact, be the very first words of the story. Torchlight licked luridly.
Yeah.
I mean, I find authors copying that kind of alliteration in order to prove that they have a good grasp of description, where you'll have literally language wise, you'll have three hard syllables, light, licked, luridly, that follow each other really close.
Yeah, but
Go
and
ahead.
there's an onomatopoeic element in that phrase too. I mean, usually alliteration like that just sounds like hack work, but I mean, again, it's evoking stuff.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can totally see that scene just from those three
Mhm.
words.
It's you'll find
Yeah,
other
the guy
fantasy
was
authors literally try to copy that to varying degrees of success. Glenn Cook, if you're familiar with him, does it all the time and does it pretty well. But a lot of other authors, it's like a word game and it gets old very quickly. But yeah, Howard's descriptions are second to none. Um, Edgar Allan Poe can describe a crack in a house for 12 pages. Robert Irvin Howard can make you feel as though you've shoved your hand into that crack.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And he can do it in like 6 words.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so I'm hoping that on the 26th, that's where I was going with this.
Oh
We'll we'll
yes,
we'll present we'll present some of this conversation, some of my conversation with Alan, and that we'll run a couple of these Conan stories. And I would also love to have permission to run your Rogues in the House,
sure.
uh, just by way of adding some depth to it. And then we're going to do something similar to that come the Robert E. Howard show in January. I'd also love to see. I have these wonderful versions of things like the Lovecraft Appreciation Society's Whisper in
Oh yeah.
Darkness.
Oh
And it
yes.
these are great. I love them, but there are two problems. One, the Lovecraft Society doesn't know me, and two, they have, at least in this part of the country, almost completely and utterly coined H.P. Lovecraft. They run the Necronomicon and the they're the ones that did the Call of Cthulhu movie, the black and white silent film,
Yeah.
and the Whisper in Darkness film. They don't need us. So I would love to share some of, oh, for example, your Charles Dexter Ward over Halloween with my listeners. I would love to do that.
Yeah, sure.
Um, and I think my webpage right now really is a placeholder. It's there for my player. But I think it's time to add some links. And I think what we'll do is we'll throw some links to your individual audiobooks up and to the podcasts, because I cannot imagine anybody who listens to us wouldn't want to be downloading your stuff too. I mean, and
You know, I hope so. I've been having a lot of fun doing it. A little too much fun, really. It's like I just tend to spend so much time on it. Radio programming is hard, John.
it's,
I don't know
well,
if you noticed over the last 25 years.
it's a little hard. It's Live 365 treats me fairly well. I have an auto DJ that does most of the work during the week. It's just putting a show together and making all the elements fit so
Yeah.
that it's a program and not more random music that gets a
Well,
little.
and I don't know if you work with any terrestrial stations, but the requirement to get everything to come in on the particular time slots, I don't know how you guys do that.
It's it's tough. And to be honest, I have been wrangling with it for like 5 or 6 years. Um, WMVY, which is famous worldwide for being the one of the two American Americana stations that really gets listened to worldwide. They were before the defunding occurred, they were giving me the right to use their access to the NPR marketplace
Oh
to
wow.
hang the Phantom Star up for NPR stations to invest in. Now, of course,
Yeah.
so it happens a lot. You find that you've missed posts by this much, and
Right.
that's my problem with programming for NPR. People who don't know radio well won't know what posts are, but they're the marks where the industry insists that you have a break, where there has to be a station ID or an advertisement or a word from our sponsor, and you have to hit those posts exactly on the second every single time. And it took me 4 or 5 years because I wasn't satisfied with my ability to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna try and make the Penny Dreadful Hour work for like if a local community radio station wanted to pick it up or something like that, but I just couldn't get any of that stuff to work. I've
It's
just got too much content that breaks at different
it's
places. I'm like, well, you know what? It's a podcast. It's just going to be a podcast.
Well, it's the thing. I mean, a movie that look at the Lord of the Rings films. Not one of those movies needed to be 120 minutes long. All
Yeah,
right. They needed to be as long as they needed to be. You need to, when you're talking about this stuff, and it's very important work because everything that you're presenting, everything that I'm presenting, it belongs to everybody. We're doing stewardship because we're putting it in the public record. It's appearing, it's findable to people in another 10 years where it would be lost
yeah,
because the public domain in this country takes so very long to achieve itself.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
there's so many orphan works. A long time ago, I had this idea that I should put together some sort of a fund that would make orphan works available and market them with the money going into some sort of an escrow so that if the heirs ever did turn up, they could be compensated. But of course, if anything like that were put together, it would be sued out of existence instantly. So
That or there would be so much fraud attached to the
Yeah,
people claiming rights.
trying to claim
But
stuff.
I mean, I don't think we have public domain worked out in this country yet. 95 to 100 years is too long. You control the destinies of your children for 20 years, but your work goes, your
Yeah,
estate can control your work for 100 years. And what happens is things that shouldn't be culturally lost are lost. I mean, we have enough problem sharing a united culture in America anyway. Why
yeah,
should Jelly Roll Morton be locked behind a paywall after 75 years? Or Irving Berlin?
yeah.
These are things that actually make us who we are. And even though you're presenting a lot of work that was written outside of this country is still part of our cultural heritage. It's still part of the history of the language that we share.
Sure,
So, and
sure, yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really important to add value with public domain projects as well, making connections between things and stuff like that. Um, because that's where, in my experience, consuming this kind of content, that's where, you start seeing connections and things like that and learning new stuff because scholarship is being done because it kind of has to be done because unless you unless you spend a little bit of time adding value to the content, then all you're doing is putting it on Amazon and hoping for the best. So yeah, it's become a kind of a vibrant space, and I'm really excited about being part of it.
me too. And context is so important and so wonderful. And context is how you take something nobody's heard for 100 years and you make it relevant. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely added value.
The other
Um,
fun thing about stuff that's 100 years old is that 100 years ago there were people who had rich culturally relevant experiences basically erased when they got married, and so there's all of these sort of like hidden gems in history. Like, anyway, sorry, I'm just going off.
we should probably talk a few more times and weed some of this out so that we
Yeah,
can it's such a deep thing and it's something that you're very passionate about that we're very passionate about and I would love to get together and talk and not keep you up all night
it is a little late over here.
it's going to be about 11 here in about 20 minutes so yeah.
Oh, you guys are later than we are. That's
Yeah,
right. Oh, yes.
now it was an absolute pleasure though to finally talk with you for a little bit
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I'm
didn't we? I thought we had like a phone conversation at one point just after the book came out, I think.
we may have we
But
definitely
yeah,
talked
this
a lot more back in the day via Messenger too. We spent quite a bit of time. Um, and then, things happen. I'm going to
yeah.
be 50, I'm 56 this year and my bad genes have caught up with me. I have been seeing the doctor more than anybody else this year.
Oh no.
Nothing terrible. Just my family enjoys a very specific type of diabetes.
Oh
And
no.
when that finally rears its ugly head, you spend more time with your doctor than with your kids.
Yeah, and they're delicious foods that you can't eat, and yeah, that sucks, John.
Well, I'm telling myself we did the inaugural cruise of the San Diego Comic-Con cruise last year. Jason and I went and did that, had a ball, made some nice connections, met Joe Wos, who is the guy directing and running Cartoon Academy right now, which was just fantastic to talk to him and make a connection there. Anyway, we're going to do it again this year, and I keep telling myself I'll eat what I want on the cruise as long as I spend the next 4 months teaching myself not to want very specific things.
Uh, well, yeah, entropy is a bitch.
It gets us all eventually, but yeah, I mean, I- I'm slowing down. My terrestrial job is now a 2 or 3 day a week thing. I have more time to
Ah,
think about programming, more time to write. So we're hoping that as I'm enjoying doing the Phantom Star, I'm going to end up doing a lot more work on it and a lot more promoting, and we'll grow our audience back to where it was once upon a time.
Right on.
But I am super excited to one, turn people onto the podcast and to resample your stuff for the program. So
Yeah,
I'm
right
going to let
on.
you go and do other things with your evening.
Sounds like a winner. It sounds like just got somebody called up the stairs to say that the dryer's quit working. So I'm gonna, looks
Oh
like I
boy.
get to put my handyman hat on.
Very good. Well, I have really enjoyed this, and I have just adored looking at your set and your study.
Thanks.
We should send pictures of. You can't see much of mine at the moment, but
I
uh,
got a sideways ankle on it.
well, what you don't see is my TARDIS, which is right there.
Oh, I remember that. Oh, yes. Nice.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us all this time this evening. And
Yeah, thanks, John. It's been a pleasure.
when I've cut it all together, I will send it to you, but you can also listen in on the 26th.
Sounds great. Yeah. Yeah, I'll set a timer for it. Ooh, you guys go live at what, 7?
We're going to go live at 8 here, so it'll be a little early for you. I think it'll until we get to October in the switch, I think it'll be 5 where you are.
Okay.
But I'll make a recording this time.
Cool.
For copyright law, for digital copyright, I will have to cut the music out, but all the important stuff will be there.
Right on. Okay, yeah, well, keep me posted.
Will do. Thanks,
Hey,
Finn.
thanks, John. Yeah, have a great night.
You too. Take care.
You too. Bye.
I haven't done Zoom in so long. How do I close the
I know
meeting?
they're trying to find the button here. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. I'm going to click the leave button.
And I've got
Cheers.
end. All right. Take care.
Bye.